The next MCU project is coming very soon to Disney Plus. I got a chance to check out the first 2 episodes. I'm here to talk about it. And that's right, folks. I'm talking about Secret Invasion. What's up, everybody, and welcome back to the channel today for another review. Today, we're going to be reviewing the new MCU project on Disney Plus, Secret Invasion, which is going to be dropping its first episode June 21st. There's 6 episodes this season, and that means you have to come back weekly for each episode here. I mean, while, Echo was announced that it's going to have a binge drop, no, this one will have new episodes weekly. So, the old scheduling of how these MCU shows are released. But yeah, as you've seen now, folks, the social embargo has lifted. I took a glance at some people's hot takes, and I'm just going to just quickly be very reasonable about this because, yes, I love Marvel. I love all comic books, but yeah, I like Marvel. But I'm not going to go off the limb and say, like, this is the best project because I see that kind of floating around. No, this is very good. Don't get me wrong, but, like, I think it's an overreaction to think that this is the best project just off of 2 episodes. I think the first 2 episodes are extremely strong and has a lot of promise, and I think the series can be very good. But I also think there's a level of familiarity with this series, and that's because if I didn't know no better, this was season 8 of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., like straight up. And I also think a lot of what we thought Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. were going to be around the first 3 seasons, especially when it started to connect with the MCU films, especially when it came down to Winter Soldier. This certainly feels like what I was at least expecting from that, but certainly a step forward in terms of what Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Would have been or could have been, after, if it had not been canceled and it just had just been moved to Disney Plus here. So, if you did enjoy Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., then yeah, I think you're going to come into this like, yeah, this has that feel. The stakes are absolutely higher. Obviously, you got the bigger names and properties attached to it. But again, I strongly think all of us would have at some point thought that Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. would have got to this point. So I'm going to talk about what this is all about, but I definitely wanted to say, like, I did enjoy this. I'm not going to go off the limb and say this was the best series ever, and some other hot takes I've been seeing. I think some people get very excited because they got to see it early. But no, it's super solid. I'm not even going to tell you what my favorite was, but I'm still very, I'm still very much set in what my favorite MCU series on Disney Plus is currently. But I think that's going to change because I'm very, very excited for Daredevil. Let me just say that right now. But again, I don't want to discredit this. I think this is certainly a must watch. The first 2 episodes are done very solid. This goes really back into that spy and espionage feel with the political ramifications of the MCU side. So, like, yeah, you're not getting a lot of superhero presence and the Avengers and whatnot. Yeah, the Skrulls are in that, and we know they have an ability set of their own. But like, it goes really to the root of like human and mankind, the politics of it, and how does a world operate with these aliens and so on that exist out there, and we're aware of it. With that being said, I did love the theme song of this series, and the intro video was really, really cool. I going into the connectivity of this series, this goes back to everything that we've seen in Captain Marvel with I'm gonna say with Captain Marvel, with Captain Marvel and Nick Fury, and sort of their establishment and their relationship with the Skrull. When we get introduced to Talos, and now we see how this sort of friendship and sort of agreement, because there was an agreement made in 1997, and this promise that Fury made, he had not delivered on, and now we see the results of what happens when you don't deliver a promise, especially a promise to this to this magnitude, you know what I mean? So we're gonna talk it all down. I'm gonna make sure we flesh all this out because I have a lot of little thoughts about these first 2 episodes here. And then with that being said, like the the series makes some really bold decisions pretty bright and early, and really wasn't afraid to make some of the risk, the chances with the risk that it takes. So, expect some kind of mind-blowing things that happen pretty early in this, especially the conclusion of episode 1 was kind of like, oh wow. I'm gonna talk about the conclusion of episode 2 as well too, but like the beginning of episode 1, you're kind of like, oh wow, but with this, we follow Nick Fury again, going back to 1997, where he made a promise that he had not delivered on, and then we see the ramifications of this promise. Somebody who was there in 1997, and upon disagreement that was made, this person took it very personal. Now, seeking, a little bit of revenge, because, if Fury says he's going to do something, he typically does. So if he doesn't, what does that world look like here? Along with that, Fury has been gone, as we know. And, we see the Nick Fury after the effects of the blip, sort of where his mental state is at, and obviously the ramifications of his absence on Earth. We know he left Earth after the blip here, so we're getting sort of reintroduced to Nick Fury in terms of everything that's happened after Endgame here, and certainly there's some major changes with this character here, a lot of changes here, but him coming back to Earth now here, he comes back to Earth because there is an imminent terrorist attack that's going to happen in Russia. He's on site to try to prevent it. He doesn't prevent it. So now the whole world eyes are all glued to this terrorist attack. But folks have realized that Nick Fury was there. Where has he been and why is he there? So now you have sort of should I say, like almost setting the stage for World War III, with all of the superpowers, all of the nations, all eyes are glued to this attack. Who's responsible for it? And then Fury's right there in the middle. So, right, you get the political and the societal effects of this moment, right? But then, because this is Marvel, right, the Skrulls are also involved with it. There's a couple of different angles with the Skrulls. The Skrulls are definitely like, Fury, where have you been? We had a promise. You have not delivered. Like, what's good? And then also the whole thing about the events in Russia, which the Skrulls have their involvement with that as well too. So yeah, it's Fury's war, and the reason why you wonder, well, why not call the Avengers? That's always my thought too. They make it very clear they can't call the Avengers because they cannot risk them getting involved, and we cannot risk an interaction with the Skrulls and the Avengers, which we know the Skrulls' ability to mimic the shapeshifters. So in order for them to duplicate them and have them flip, can only make matters worse for what it already is here. So yeah. And when you think about the Skrulls are like 100 million times more dangerous than Hydra. We know what Hydra was capable of hiding in blind sight, but like the Skrulls can actually shapeshift, which means they can take the shape of folks of power, which is extremely dangerous when we don't know where they're at, and they could be right there in plain sight, and making major decisions and the ramifications of those decisions. You know what I mean? So there's a lot of things kind of going on here. I want to talk about the cast, but truly this is a war within humanity, but the Skrulls also involved, and Nick Fury right in the middle of all of this. You know what I mean? So a lot of different things going on. Talos is there, who's obviously an ally of Nick, but obviously there's going to be some friction because he's a Skrull, so like he is, there's a promise that we're unfulfilled here, and you got to like say, well, how is this going to get resolved? And Ben Mendelsohn is really fantastic as expected. Samuel Jackson is fantastic as expected. But let's talk about some of the newcomers here. And Emilia Clarke, who we all know, once we heard that she was casted for this, all eyes were set on what her role was going to be. I didn't see the trailer, so I actually don't know if they revealed this, but I guess I'll tiptoe around this because I think it's very clear if you don't know, that look at her name here. I think her name is the biggest clue in terms of who she is. But you know, I will say that Gaia is a conflicted character, very much in the middle of everything that's happening here. There's a level of an alignment with her, but I think that's going to be tested. And as I said, conflicted, because as the events of things start to unravel, I think this character will have to kind of flip sides in terms of, you know, where she wants to be aligned with and truly following what she feels is going to be the right thing here. So yeah, Maria Hill returns, you know, an agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. So you could imagine right alongside of Nick Fury, you know, Maria is the one that could get in contact with Fury if needed. So Maria, you could imagine, was the first contact upon Fury returning here. Olivia Colman as Sonya is menacing. Oh, what a moment in episode 2. That's all I'm gonna say. Very menacing, and I'm not gonna give anything away, but I will also say the last thing with her is just that another character that's sort of like with her own objectives and seeking answers here. And all roads lead to Fury, but there will be some sort of speed bumps on the way. Kingsley Bendir is really good. It's Gravik. He has plans, and all roads in terms of this character is all focused on what will this character do. There's a lot happening with this character very quickly. This character is also a threat. And while this character is a threat, the threat just keeps getting bigger and bigger. So what are Gravik's plans and the science behind Gravik's plans? And ultimately, if Gravik is able to deliver and fulfill his plans, what does that mean here? So, yeah, could imagine here. Now, Rhodey returns, and we all know who Rhodey is here. But with Rhodey returning here, I'm going to say this. I'm going to say this right now. I should also mention Everett Ross, Martin Freeman also makes an appearance in this as well too. But Don Cheadle as Rhodey, I'm going to say that him and Nick Fury has a very, very interesting conversation with one another in episode 2. I think, first of all, things get extremely spicy. Grab your tea. But it does really set the stage in terms of like everything that's happening in this series and things to come. I think it's probably the most important part of the first 2 episodes is the conversation between the two of them in episode 2. So expect to kind of see where Rhodey sort of alliance is currently, and like his sort of relationship with Fury, and with everything that's happening, and with Fury again sort of being deemed responsible for what happened in Russia. Where does that put that? And you know, Rhodey represents the US, and you know, there's a huge issue that the fact that folks are sort of aligned with Russia right now because of what's happening on Russian soil, and no one's taking claim, but Fury's there, which makes it folks think that it could potentially be American. There's a lot of things happening here, as I said, like the political side of stuff here. So yeah, but even with that too, I mean, let's call it what it is now. Listen, this is a war between aliens and humans, and there's a lot of also internal conflict within each species. We know humans never get along with humans in the first place, but like, yeah, aliens, as we know with the Skrull, who is just truly trying to seek refugee, you know, ever since the Korean Skrull War. And while they can't find a home or have found a home for them, which is the promise that was made, we know, with Carol Danvers, as we know from Captain Marvel, that they're looking like, hey, hello, we're trying to do something here. And what does that mean for the Skrull that were seeking refugee, the ones that's here, the ones that could be coming, or the ones that may already be here that we didn't know about? There's a lot of those little things kind of happening here. And with all that happening, yeah, Nick Fury's right in the middle of it all. So there's that. And then, you know, Talos is sort of like the one who believes that humans and Skrulls could live together. Like that's his goal. But we all know that humans can't even coexist with each other. So like bringing another species, that's really not going to go over well. So anywho, last thoughts here is the ending of episode 2 certainly will make folks who seem pretty certain and concrete on their decisions, I think that may have to change because, yeah. There's no end credit scenes in any of these episodes, so once the episode ends, so you don't have to stick around for anything extra. But I'm very interested. I can't wait to see what the rest of this series does. I think this series will again be season 8 of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., so I think it is going to really be I think we're going to get more seasons. I think it's really going to go back to the roots of Marvel Television, where these are companion shows that really attach to the films, and we know that Loki has been doing that, and all the other ones essentially. But I think that, like, going back to what that was the plan was originally going to be, I think this goes back to that OG formula, just using the bigger names, and the stakes are bigger, and now the connectability is bigger. So I'm very excited because it feels all too familiar and very promising, and I can't wait to see how it plans out. So with that being said, folks, Secret Invasion, you can check out that first episode June 21st on Disney Plus. 6 episodes this season. This is my review of the first 2 episodes. You all get in the comments. Let me know your thoughts, your excitement, the hype for it. And as always, stay tuned for more reviews very soon.